Has this ever happened to you? That moment when silence feels heavier than any argument. When instead of reacting, you breathe, hold your ground, and somehow everything shifts. There was a time when she would have explained herself over and over, fought to be understood, tried to prove her worth through fire and force. Her energy burned bright, almost desperate. But something inside her began to change. It wasn't surrender. It wasn't weakness. It was awakening. There comes a point in a woman's life when she begins to see that the chaos she keeps meeting isn't always coming from outside. Sometimes it's a reflection of the conflict she carries within. The people who push her buttons, the ones who drain her with their endless drama, stop looking like enemies to defeat. They become mirrors showing her the parts of herself she has avoided, the pieces she has not healed. This is where her quiet revolution begins. She doesn't need to shout anymore because she understands the real battle was never with the world. It was between her need for validation and her soul's longing for peace. Most people never reach this point. They stay trapped in reaction, trapped in projection. Every insult, every rejection, every silence becomes proof they're not enough. She lived like that for years. Same story, different faces. Men who didn't understand her, friends who betrayed her, family who called her too sensitive. She thought she was cursed with bad luck. But what she was really facing was her own unclaimed strength disguised as chaos. Her peace began the moment she stopped trying to fix others and started seeing through them. She realized drama as a kind of unconsciousness, a desperate attempt to feel alive through conflict. When you're addicted to noise, silence feels terrifying. But she didn't run from it anymore. She stayed. And in that stillness, something ancient awakened in her. Her calm became her power. The modern world celebrates the woman who reacts fast, who claps back, who burns the bridge before anyone else can. But beneath that applause is a deeper truth. Constant reaction is a cage. It drains the feminine spirit. It twists her inner strength into exhaustion, sharpness, restlessness. She begins to mistake aggression for power, chaos for aliveness. When she chooses peace, she calls her energy back from everyone who never deserved it. She no longer needs to win arguments, explain misunderstandings, or convince anyone of her worth. Not because she doesn't care, but because she finally knows her energy is sacred. To waste it on noise is to abandon herself. She learns something surprising. Peace does not mean passivity. It's not the silence of someone defeated. It's the composure of someone who sees clearly. Her emotions are waves, not the whole ocean. She can let them rise and fall without drowning. She can witness cruelty without taking it personally. She can watch the storm without entering it. This is not numbness. It's clarity. It's the understanding that everything she used to chase was only a reflection of a void inside her. You might feel this shift too. One day you stop trying to survive emotionally, and suddenly the things that once fascinated you, gossip, conflict, power struggles, start to feel empty. You no longer want the high of being right. You want the calm of being free. The ego hates this because without drama, it starves. But the soul celebrates because now there is space for truth. She started listening, not to the noise around her, but to the quiet voice within that had been whispering all along, you do not need to prove your light. Just become it. And something miraculous happened. The more peace she nurtured, the less chaos came her way. People who fed off her reactions drifted out of her life. As if the universe itself retired that lesson. Peace doesn't chase. Peace attracts. The men who once tested her no longer impressed her. The friends who lived in emotional storms no longer matched her energy. Her frequency changed, and her world had no choice but to change with her. The world didn't suddenly get kinder. She became more conscious. And consciousness protects in a way nothing else can. There was a time when people mistook her calm for weakness. Those who loved conflict assumed she was easy to manipulate. But that illusion eventually broke. Because peace, when rooted in awareness, is not fragile. It's unshakable. It's the strength of a woman who has walked through fire and no longer fears flames. The woman who chooses peace doesn't do so because she escaped her darkness. She chooses it because she made peace with it. She stopped pretending to be pure light. She sat with her anger and saw the unmet needs beneath it. She faced her jealousy and found the longing to be truly seen. She met her bitterness and uncovered grief. Grief for all the times she abandoned herself just to be accepted. Most people avoid this inner work because it hurts. It requires honesty without excuses. It asks you to face your own contradictions, your own smallness, your own self-deception. But she knew that owning her darkness was the only way to reclaim her power. A woman who integrates her shadow no longer projects it onto others. She doesn't need to judge or control because she has met every part of herself. The more she accepts herself, the less the world can wound her. That's when her transformation becomes undeniable. When she walks into a room, her presence doesn't shout, it commands. Not through beauty or charm, but through depth. The kind of depth only found in someone who has healed. Her silence becomes a mirror. It reflects people back to themselves. Some feel uncomfortable. Others feel inspired. Her peace isn't a mask. It's alignment. Every emotion is allowed, but none takes over. She can feel pain without losing herself. She can love without abandoning herself. She can forgive without forgetting the lesson. And here's the paradox: inner peace doesn't pull her away from life. It connects her more deeply to it. When she lived in drama, she lived in survival, seeing people as threats or saviors. Now she sees them as mirrors, teachers. The person who provokes her shows her where she still holds attachment. The person who leaves shows her where she still fears her own solitude. Every encounter becomes a conversation with her soul. You might wonder how peace can be so powerful in a world that rewards noise. It's because peace is the only power no one can take away. It is inner sovereignty. When a woman embodies that, something incredible happens. She becomes like still water, quiet on the surface, infinitely deep underneath. No one can predict her because she no longer reacts from fear. She acts from inner truth. And her peace isn't cold, it's warm, fierce, kind. She knows everyone is fighting a hidden battle. Those who gossip or attack are trapped in their own shadows. She doesn't take it personally anymore because she has faced her own. Her compassion doesn't make her weak, it sets her free. There's a strange beauty in her now. She speaks softly, but her words land with weight. Her boundaries are firm, but her heart stays open. She can walk away, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. And that is the power of a woman who has found her peace. She isn't chasing closure anymore because she already found it inside herself. She has become a quiet kind of strong, a living reminder that peace is not the lack of emotion, but the ability to guide it. And when you reach that point, when you choose peace over drama, not as a trick, but as a truth, something inside you begins to glow softly and endlessly. The storms may still come, but they can no longer shake the center of who you are, because you've found the calm in the middle of the storm, the place within you that stays steady and untouched. There came a moment when her silence stopped scaring her. It began to feed her. The woman who once filled every quiet space with words, explanations, apologies, started to find something sacred in saying nothing at all. Because in silence, she could finally hear what the noise of the world had buried, her own truth. Before this, her life had been a chain of reactions, to opinions, to disappointments, to the unpredictable waves of love and rejection. Each time she felt misunderstood, she tried harder to prove herself. Each time she felt unloved, she poured out more of her heart, hoping it would earn what she longed for. But the more she tried to control how others saw her, the more she drifted away from her own center. In solitude, she discovered a deeper part of herself. Not the part that wants approval or applause, but the part that wants to be whole. And to help her return to that wholeness, life began removing everything that wasn't real. The relationships she once thought she couldn't live without started to fade. The achievements that once made her feel important began to feel empty. At first it felt like losing everything. But it wasn't destruction. It was cleansing. She came to understand that peace isn't something you earn. It's something you uncover when the noise finally quiets. It was always there, hidden under the pressure to perform and please. Peace doesn't need to be created. It appears when illusion falls apart. There were moments when she felt alone in her new stillness. The world around her kept spinning, people chasing attention, lovers playing emotional games, coworkers competing for validation. Sometimes she wondered if she had pulled too far away. But then she realized something simple and deep. Peace doesn't make you distant. It makes you selective. You stop confusing attachment with love, intensity with connection, noise with meaning. When a woman reaches this place, she begins to carry within her a kind of inner home. Her outer world may stay busy, but her inner world stays steady. No one can drag her into chaos without her agreement. No insult can shake her core. She has learned the sacred moment of the pause, the space between what happens and how she responds, where all her freedom lies. This is what the Stoics meant when they said we suffer more in imagination than in reality. And when Epictetus taught that it's not events that disturb us, but our thoughts about them, she lives from this now. When someone disrespects her, she doesn't explode. She listens. She sees that their behavior is a reflection of their own turmoil, not her worth. When plans fall apart, she doesn't panic. She trusts that what is meant for her will not pass her by. Her calm isn't coldness. It's alignment with the deeper rhythm of life. For years, her life seemed to repeat itself. The same heartbreaks, the same disappointments, the same emotional exhaustion. Now she knows why. Her old patterns were writing her story. Every fight she entered, every storm she fed was a wounded part of her asking to be seen. But when she stopped feeding the wound, when she stopped reacting from pain and started responding from awareness, the pattern broke. That's real transformation. Turning emotional weight into inner strength. Letting the heat of conflict forge her consciousness. You may feel it too. That moment when you're tempted to defend yourself, to react, to prove, and something inside whispers, don't. You pause. You breathe. And in that pause, you realize you've just broken a very old cycle. That pause is evolution. The woman who chooses peace becomes powerful in a gentle and undeniable way. Not because she tries to control others, but because she can't be controlled through their chaos. The woman who used to beg to be understood now walks away with quiet dignity. The woman who used to chase love now radiates it without trying. Her energy is no longer leaking into every argument, every misunderstanding, every attempt to be accepted. Her energy returns to her, it gathers. It strengthens. And when that energy becomes whole, it becomes magnetic. People can feel it without knowing why. They feel safer around her because she doesn't project her fears onto them. She listens without judgment, speaks with purpose, and acts without the need to dominate or defend. Her peace softens tension, not by avoiding truth, but by standing in it. There's a simple teaching in Zen. When you understand yourself, you understand everything. That's her life now. Every challenge, every person, every conflict mirrors something inside her. Those who trigger her are teachers in disguise. The pain that once broke her becomes guidance. She no longer asks, "Why is this happening to me?" Instead, she asks, "What is this showing me about myself?" That question changes everything. Because when you stop fighting life, life stops fighting you. When you stop grabbing for meaning, meaning rises to meet you. When you stop clinging to drama, you discover that peace was never the absence of emotion. It was the presence of truth. A quiet revolution begins the moment a woman realizes she doesn't need to win. Not the argument, not the affection, not the attention. For so long, she believed peace was something she'd get once everyone understood her, once everything finally stopped hurting. But peace isn't delivered. Peace is chosen. Again and again. Especially when the world gives you every reason not to choose it. People may mistake her calm for distance. But that's only because they can't feel the fire she carries beneath it. She has walked through the storms of her own heart. Anger, grief, confusion, and she has come out clean. Her peace isn't numbness, it's mastery. It's the confidence that comes from surviving her own chaos and meeting herself on the other side whole. For her, the deepest transformation came from accepting every part of herself, the part that loved deeply, the part that needed reassurance, the part that tried too hard to be seen. She realized the drama she once attracted wasn't a punishment. It was a mirror. It showed her every place she had walked away from her own truth. Each argument was a sign of an inner split between who she was and who she pretended to be. When she chose peace, she didn't reject emotion. She reclaimed it. Anger became clarity. Sadness became depth. Loneliness became connection with her own soul. The energy that once fueled chaos now fuels wisdom. The same intensity that once made her reactive now makes her radiant. This change doesn't happen overnight. It unfolds slowly, like the first light of morning after a long night. At first it feels subtle, a quiet awareness, a moment of restraint, a soft inner voice. She starts catching herself before slipping into old habits. She starts noticing that she no longer needs to explain her choices to people who don't understand her. The world hasn't changed, but her inner world has shifted completely. What once felt like chaos now feels like information. Signals showing her who she truly is. And that makes her unstoppable. Because when you no longer rely on others to manage your emotions, you become free. When you no longer let others decide your worth, you become strong. And when you no longer need to win, you cannot lose. She has stepped into her own wise, grounded feminine, not perfect, not untouchable, just whole. Her light and her shadow are no longer fighting, they work together now. She can be gentle without feeling weak, steady without becoming hard, quiet without disappearing. She no longer tries to control life because she has learned life moves with its own wisdom. Her calm is her quiet rebellion in a world that wants constant reaction. And yes, she will still be tested. Old wounds will murmur. Old patterns will pull on her. Life has a way of checking whether your peace is real or just a performance. A sudden betrayal, a sharp comment, an unexpected letdown, these moments become her spiritual exams. But now, instead of breaking down, she watches herself. She notices the urge to slip back into the old story, the one where she must defend, explain, argue. And she smiles, because she knows that if she stays centered in that moment, she has already won. Maybe you know this feeling too. That quiet pride that comes from refusing the bait. Someone tries to stir you, but you stay steady. Someone misreads you, but you don't rush to fix it. Someone pulls their love away, but you don't collapse. That is not coldness. That is evolution. She sees now that one of the strongest addictions is the addiction to emotional drama. It can make you feel alive for a moment, but it feeds only the ego. Real aliveness, she has learned, comes from alignment. When her thoughts, her heart, and her actions move together, life becomes simpler. She no longer needs chaos to feel important. She no longer needs suffering to feel deep. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." In her courage, she has found her freedom. It takes deep bravery to stay peaceful in a world that profits from your unrest. To say no when manipulation calls. To walk away when the ego begs you to stay. To be misunderstood and stay kind anyway. But this courage is what makes her glow. Now she moves through life like a steady river, quiet, clear, unstoppable. She flows around obstacles instead of fighting them. The people meant to walk with her will feel drawn to this current. Those who rely on chaos will drift away, and she lets them go because she no longer fears endings. She knows endings create space for what's true. Peace has made her untouchable. Not because she is closed off, but because she no longer needs armor. Her openness is her strength, her tenderness, her wisdom. She knows that what is real cannot be threatened, and what is false cannot last. She walks forward softly, intentionally, powerfully, no longer asking the world for permission to be who she is. In time, she realized that peace was not a trophy to earn. It was a remembering, a return to something that had always lived inside her. Beneath the striving, the heartbreak, the noise, there was a quiet center, ancient, steady, unbreakable. And once she touched it, even for a moment, she understood. Nothing outside her could ever truly harm her again. She once believed strength meant holding everything together, proving she could endure anything. Now she sees that real strength is the ability to release without bitterness. A woman who chooses peace doesn't resist life. She moves with it. She trusts the intelligence behind every ending, every pause, every silence. What once felt like rejection now feels like redirection. What once shattered her now opens the door to deeper clarity. Her relationships shift too. Where she once chased intensity, she now seeks resonance. She no longer confuses passion with chaos or attention with care. She knows now that love doesn't need to be loud to be real. The people drawn to her now are those who honor her stillness, who understand that peace is not dull. It is rare. Those who once depended on her reactivity find nothing to hold on to. Her calm dissolves manipulation the way sunlight dissolves shadows. And yes, life will still test her. There will be moments when old hurts throb, when someone's coldness stings or someone's silence reminds her of old fears. But instead of collapsing, she turns inward. She holds her pain the way one holds a child, with softness, not judgment. Because she knows peace is not the absence of pain, it's the ability to feel pain without becoming it. She is not numb. She feels everything, sometimes more deeply than before, but she no longer fears her emotions because she no longer mistakes them for truth. Emotions are waves, she reminds herself. They rise, peak, and pass. Truth is the ocean beneath them, vast, steady, endless. She no longer tries to erase her flaws, but to understand them. Every fear, every insecurity, every wound becomes an invitation to integrate what she once pushed away. The parts of herself she once rejected now become her guides. Her anger shows her where her boundaries were crossed. Her sadness shows her what she treasures. Her loneliness shows her where she still needs to meet herself. And as she embraces these pieces, something begins to shift. The outer world mirrors her inner healing. The chaos that once followed her fades. New doors open that match her truth. Connections deepen or dissolve without drama. It's not magic, it's alignment. She has changed her energy, and life adjusts itself to meet her. You might feel this happening too. When you stop forcing life, it starts to flow. When you stop gripping for control, life begins to cooperate. Because peace is not passive. It is a partnership, a conversation with the deeper forces guiding your growth. The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart." This is how she lives now, not in resistance, but in reverence. Every experience becomes part of her unfolding. Every challenge, a lesson in honesty and awareness. There is something sacred about a woman who has reclaimed her peace after chaos. Her presence calms rooms. Children trust her. Friends come not to hear advice, but to feel her steadiness. Even strangers sense it. That quiet power that doesn't need to announce itself. She has become a home of stillness in a world drowning in noise. She no longer prays for an easy life. She prays for a conscious one, because she knows that awareness is the only true freedom, the only way to move through the storms of life without losing herself. And so, while the world spins faster, she slows down, she watches, she breathes, she chooses peace again and again. Not because it is simple, but because it is sacred. Some days the old self will whisper, inviting her back into old patterns, to argue, to prove, to defend. But she smiles at that voice, knowing it's only fear longing for the familiar. She thanks it, then releases it. She no longer has to fight for peace. She has become peace. The unstoppable woman is not the loudest in the room. She is the one whose calm shifts the energy around her. She is no longer defined by her past, her relationships, or her titles. She is her own ground, her own safe place, her own home. And in that home, within her own soul, she rests. No longer searching, no longer performing, no longer waiting for the world to hand her what she already carries, because she has discovered the truth. Peace was never something to find. It was something to remember, and once remembered, it never leaves. Thank you for being here. Your presence gives life to this space. Stay close, and together we'll keep learning, growing, and uncovering the deeper truths that shape who we are. Until the next video, take care and see you soon.